know if they've worked together on this list. It's basically Owen's 75 from Grand Prix DAC, removing one of the Swords of Plowshares for a Gitaxian Probe. So
safe change.
Yes.
Nice and easy.
Now all you need to do is remove 3 other cards for 3 more Gitaxian Probes, and that's a deck.
Can you just cut 3 lands? Does that work? Or
You can cut 1.5 to 2 lands, depending on what your curve looks like.
Fox is going to start off with a Tundra via Misty Rainforest. Going to go down to 19. Wonder if he knows what he's up against here with Omnitel and Wilkerson. Don't know if these guys are friends or buddies or have sat next to each other over the past couple of rounds. But we'll see if he knows what he's up against. Looks like he's going to get to a good start, too, with the Delver of Secrets. Going to get the pressure started right away.
And the mixture of pressure and good disruption with the counterspells gives Blue-White Red Delver a very positive matchup against combo decks like Omnitel.
Preordained to start. So Wilkerson's going to take a look over his hand. He got a beautiful, beautiful deck.
This is it's really curious because during the Standard Open win that Tyler had this weekend with Mono Blue Devotion, it looked like his lands came out of the M11 draft box. So I don't know why he was slow rolling us with all these foil awesome islands.
Maybe he's a legacy specialist and he prefers to, make sure his legacy cards are up to snuff and doesn't care about standard. Which, if that's the case, that makes the win even more impressive, as Force Will is going to come off the top here for Fox. So Insectile Aberration is in the house. Force in the grip against the old combo deck. A very nice reveal for him.
Great start for Adam thus far.
Scalding Tarn going to show up. Insectile Aberration going to come across for 3. Wilkerson's going to go down to 17. Going to follow it up with a Ponder. So time for a little manipulation. Wilkerson gives him the thumbs up, and Fox will look at the top 3. See if he wants to keep or shuffle him away as he consults his hand momentarily.
And again, with the fetch line in play, he has some amount of selection here. He can keep one and then shuffle away. So Ponder plus fetch land is part of the same synergies that you see with Brainstorm and fetch land.
All right, so Wilkerson's going to draw. It's time for Brainstorm. Doesn't have a fetch land, though. Does find another copy of Show and Tell, which is interesting, because what we could end up seeing happen here is just running Show and Tells into counters until they resolve.
Mm-hmm. But this is a tough row to hoe for the Omnitel deck, slogging through that amount of permission under the gun. The Omnitel decks and the Sneak and Show decks, they can set up really good hands when they're not under pressure, but the turn 1 Delver, critical to the Delver deck's overall game plan in the matchup.
Agreed. Now it's time for a Preordain. So more manipulation. Oftentimes how these games play out, very similar to Sneak and Show, honestly, where you manipulate, and then it's just one big turn, except for in this case, the one big turn from Wilkerson, you die immediately. With Sneak and Show, you're basically dead because the Gristlebrand Emrakul is in play, but you have, outs, swords or maybe a Karakas or something like that. But if Wilkerson's able to go off and resolve Show and Tell, it's over.
Right. Even with Sneak and Show, you can often see spots where even Wasteland is good enough disruption.
Yeah.
Because they have to tap out to cast Sneak Attack, hoping to get to the next turn with red mana. So the Sneak and Show deck, more explosive certainly, but a little more susceptible to disruption. And the big upside of Omnitel, or one of the big upsides at least, is its immunity to Wasteland. It's just on basic islands. 2 mana lands that it can usually save until the turn is about to go off. And you see Adam with 2 copies of Wasteland in his hand, not providing any additional disruption.
It is nice being able to block and blank one of the most popular cards in the format. Wilkerson going to take a draw here. Draws a Ponder. I will give you this. This would be one matchup I'd love to have Gitaxian Probe. See what's going on over there if I was Wilkerson or Fox.
Yes.
Honestly. But with how good the blue manipulation is, what are you going to do? Cut Ponder or Brainstorm for it? That's hard to do. You see Ponder's going to resolve here the 3 Moons foil.
Wilkerson with 2 copies of Gitaxian Probe in his list.
You see Flooded Strand, and a Ponder for the Omnitel player. He says, that's not good enough for me. Let's shuffle it away. See what the mystery card's going to be.
Yeah, unless he's borrowing this deck, the value of the cards he's playing signals quite a bit of passion about this archetype.
Yeah. And again, this is one of my favorite things about Legacy. This happens a lot of the time at the Legacy Grand Prix. One of the things I do at those tournaments is I just walk the rows to see who's got the nice deck with the nice cards, because I love looking at awesome-looking Magic cards. And this is a case of that. Wilkerson's deck is absolutely gorgeous. So he's going to bring another foil 3-Moon Ponder that has been signed too. 1, 2, there's a Probe. The Probe is really important.
Also appears to be Japanese as a nice little kicker. And the Gitaxian Probe is really nice in the Omnitel list because Of course, it's just a free cantrip, which is really nice. But more importantly, a lot of the tempo decks in this format are playing Daze and or Spell Pierce. And the information that you have about whether or not you have to play around those spells is very valuable.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Good to know.
Exactly what disruption you're playing against sculpts so much, how you handle your cantrips, when you want to try to go off, all of that.
The best part here, too, if you're Wilkerson, he's got 2 copies of Show and Tell in his hand, so we can use one of those Show and Tells as just bait. You know, just cast it out there. And there are legendary stories of such things happening where you cast Show and Tell but don't actually have the thing, or you cast Orm's Chant when you don't actually have the kill just to get a counter spell out of the hand. So we might see that actually end up happening here. So Ponder's going to keep. Probe is going to stay. And now it's going to be a preordain. I think he's just going to shove the top 2 right to the bottom. Yeah.
And all those cantrips, you know, you just look at them as selection cards. They also play very well with one another.
Yeah.
You're watching these brainstorms and preordains and ponders synergize with one another to provide a ton of selection.
Yes. All right, that's going to do it for Wilkerson's turn. I say that, you know, jokingly because he just did a lot that turn. As far as manipulation is concerned, Delver's going to come across. Wilkerson's going to go down to 11 now. And, of course, Fox is just building up the defenses, but he has 4 lands. 4 is a lot of lands for that deck.
Yeah, and 2 more in the hand, too.
And we haven't seen him go pondering or brainstorming or anything, so this Gataxian Probe is going to reveal a whole lot.
Now, he's got to be careful with this Gataxian Probe because alternate casting it drops him from 11 to 9, which cuts the Delver clock from 4 turns to 3. So the 2 life is very important here given what the current mathematics are.
All right. Gataxian Probe, he's gonna risk it.
Completely busted.
Let's see the hand. Ugh. Force, Daze. 2 Wastelands. So he knows he has to play around 1 Force of Will, which will probably remove Force of Will, and then a Daze, which he is more than able to do. City of Traders off the top, hasn't played a land yet. It's interesting.
A pretty tame hand overall.
Yeah. But it gets worse. I mean, it gets worse if he draws a blue card, so. It gets worse for Wilkerson, of course. Show and Tell. Now, I don't think he has Omniscience.
Well, I mean, if that's a bluff, then it's kind of a freebie because Adam can't possibly just say, okay, sure.
Yeah, I agree.
Because his Force of Will isn't worth anything if he has Omniscience.
Yes. Now, this is going to be interesting because Fox might be of the opinion of just like, well, I can't win anyway, so I need your Show and Tell just to be a bluff. Yeah, I don't think there's a world where you can just go, yeah, when you have Force of Will. I don't think that world exists.
Tyler's hand needs to be so specific for that to be correct.
Yeah. He's going to play Force of Will, casting Force of Will, or removing Force of Will, which is the card he has to remove in this instance because removing Daze doesn't do anything. So as a result, this bluff Show and Tell, assuming that, you know, the Show and Tell is going to work, or the Force of Will is going to work, it actually just took 2 Force of Wills.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful.
Although I'm a little curious about, you know, what resistance is that Daze providing at this point? And he was in a spot where he could actually just hard cast Force of Will next turn.
There's a Wasteland. Here's an attack for 3. So Wilkerson's going to go down to 6. As you mentioned, that matters a lot. Now here's a Ponder. This gets really scary now. 2,
I mean,
3.
I guess in fairness, if he's planning on Wastelanding, that means that the Daze covers against another Show and Tell if Wilkerson doesn't have another land.
Sure.
So that's reasonable. It's close.
All right, shuffle away. So let's see what we find. This game is going to be mighty interesting.
I mean, it's a sweat now, you know?
Yeah, it's a huge sweat.
Drawing a counterspell here, Force of Will specifically, is really good for Adam. Even Lightning Bolt cuts the clock in half to 1 turn.
And again, I don't think Wilkerson has, you know, anything.
Just
Jite?
Yeah, which I don't even think he can cast because it just reveals that he drew nothing. So
I don't think he has anything to put into play. What's that draw? That's
Dream Halls. And if Tyler couldn't win the game before, Dream Halls certainly allows him to do it.
Yeah, it should get the job done now.
Assuming he has another Show and Tell or something along those lines.
Fairly sure he does. He's going to sacrifice this. Wants to make sure that he can play around Daze appropriately. He doesn't have a choice. He's got to go for it now. Because if Fox were to peel Lightning Bolt, obviously it'd be game over. So
Yep.
it was a really good first test show and tell there. I don't have anything, but you cannot possibly let this resolve. So Wilkerson's going to cast show and tell. You see Fox is going to thumb through his hand. Again, he's got the Daze, he's got the Jite, and he's got a land, so we know it's going to resolve. He says, that's fine. Put Dream Halls into play. You are going to put Jite into play.
And now Tyler should know the contents of Vam's hand to be able to go off.
He knows he has to play around Daze. Remove Intuition, cast Enter the Infinite.
Pretty powerful card to cast off of Dream Halls.
May I have my whole deck? Cast the Daze, I will pay it. I promise I will. All right, I will take my whole deck, thank you very much. I need to put one card back, probably Emrakul.
Dream Hall synergizes with Enter the Infinites in two ways. One, it's a way to cast the Enter the Infinites in the first place, and then once you've cast Enter the Infinites, Dream Halls is very good after you've drawn your whole deck. So
This is true.
really a nice little combination of cards here.
You have found the combo. Cunning Wish going to go get Release the Ants and finish it off. Adam Fox knows how this story ends. He's going to concede the game. Tyler Wilkerson, your standard open champion. He's looking to go back-to-back, and he is up a game here playing for top 8 over Adam Fox. As we're going to work our way, towards the sideboards. Blue, white, red Delver I've got in front of me.
A lot of hate.
Fox is looking at some hate, thankfully for him. Now, 2 Grim Lavamancer's not going to care much about that. Probably can say the same for these 2 Rest in Peace. But 2 Power Blasts and 1 Red Elemental Blast, that's coming in. 4 Meddling Mage, 100% coming in. Then there's a sort of Fire and Ice, which isn't so bad. Definitely ups the clock. A Grafdigger's Cage, a Wear and Tear, and a True Name Nemesis. So I love Meddling Mage, and I love these 3 one-mana counter spells. I like Sword of Fire and Ice a little bit, because I think it's probably better than Jite in the matchup.
Has to be an upgrade, especially when you're bringing in additional counter spells. Drawing cards is good there, too.
Do we like Grafdigger's Cage?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay. And other than that, I mean, I say other than that, but, I mean, the 7 cards that are coming in are very, very good. And things are getting much better for Fox after sideboard. The only bad news for him is that if he wins this game, he's going to be on the draw game 3. But we'll get there when we get there.
Really critical of Tyler there to win game 1, as Adam's sideboard for the matchup is excellent. Tyler has most of his sideboard devoted to Cunning Wish targets. An Intuition, a Trick Bind, an Echoing Truth, a Noxious Revival, the Release the Ants, the Slaughter Pact, and so on. The actual live sideboard cards that he has are 4 copies of Leyline of Sanctity and 2 copies of Defense Grid. So I would expect the Defense Grids to come in against all the counter spells he's playing against. I don't know, he can shave out some cantrips, I suppose, to make room for that. And other than that, I expect him to keep his deck largely intact. I also really like Cunning Wish as a way to set up combo decks, because I think combo decks in Legacy often over sideboard for matchups anyway. They have 6 cards in their sideboard to bring in, and you can't really bring in that many cards without diluting the core of your deck. So Cunning Wish naturally limits the number of sideboard slots you can devote to actually setting cards in your deck. Cunning Wish gives you a lot of flexibility in a bunch of different spots. It gives the deck a convenient way to win that doesn't involve a creature or doing anything with its main deck. And the sideboard slots, I think, are overvalued for these styles of decks anyway.
If you guys are just joining us, Cedric Phillips, Patrick Sullivan, here in Orlando, Florida. Again, we've already crowned our standard open champion, but you're watching him on the right.
Yes.
And as Ruben and I discussed last round while you were out, we've only had one man win back-to-back in the same week, and that's Jerry Thompson.
Jerry T, dearly departed, up in Renton, working on Magic.
I'm having dinner with Jerry on Monday.
That's very lucky.
I'm very excited. What do you think it's going to be, Tombstones or ham and cheese at Arby's?
Animal crackers, possibly, or...
Either way, it'll be delicious and nutritious. But he is the only one who's gone back-to-back. And Tyler Wilkerson is seriously threatening this here, because he has been on fire, but he's also been playing very well, and I think his deck is really well positioned for this particular tournament.
Yeah, you know, the Delver matchup clearly is going to be a struggle, although you saw him win the first game there. But there's a lot of decks that are starting to pop up in reaction to the Delver deck's popularity. You're starting to see a lot more decks like Jund and Junk. The Loam deck that won the Open last weekend. These are all removal-heavy decks that are preying upon the aggro tempo decks of the format. And Omnitel just saws through that. I know in the previous round, he played against Burn Burns pretty good against most Delver decks, but obviously has no chance against any sort of real draw from Omnitel.
Yeah, it was sad to watch. I know that you weren't here. But
I burned it the first game. I was on the rail for the first game.
Okay. Well, the second game went turn 1, Leyline of Sanctity.
Tough guy.
Turn 2, Show and Tell, put Omniscience and kill you.
Pretty tough.
Yeah, really, really tough. Really just
What did
big,
the burn
tough guy.
player Show and Tell in?
He chose not to put anything into play.
Okay.
And started lightning bolting himself.
I would have gone with Show and Tell putting in Vexing Devil. I think is quite funny in that spot.
You choose. What's it gonna be?
I got a surprise for you.
So again, Wilkerson's deck does not see a lot of play. Omnitel kind of hit the scene in a big way. I know a couple months ago, Drew Levin was heavily, invested in this deck and was a really big fan of it. Put up some decent finishes on the Open Series circuit, but not the win that he was looking for. But Wilkerson has the opportunity to do that this weekend, and if he does so, we've got a major storyline on our hands.
I played against Omnitel in back-to-back rounds in the Invitational New Jersey, one in the hands of Drew Levin and once in the hand of my good friend Anand Kare. And I think I played, I would guess 7 turns in 4 games, roughly. It was a bloodbath. That was the final time I played Burn in a tournament. I was actually doing pretty well. I think it was X and 3 or X and 4 going to legacy portion. Good shot of cashing.
Okay.
And then just got back-to-back to Omnitel. And that was it.
I admire the fact that you just keep running it back. That's all.
I haven't run it back in a while. In the Vegas Invitational, I played Blue-White-Red Delver. And my opponents had a really good, effective answer to True Name Nemesis in Wasteland.
Yes.
Prevented me from casting it or anything else.
The trump card in Wasteland. Yes. I will kill your lands, and then I will kill you, because you can do nothing.
So, I think those Blue-White-Red or blue or rug style decks just aren't in my wheelhouse. I think my fetch land, dual land operations are just pretty bad. I lose to Wasteland a lot more than I see other players lose to Wasteland, so
Sure.
it must be on me.
I mean, that's not really my comfort zone either, casting Ponder and Brainstorm and setting all those things up that way. It's just different magic to maybe what you and I are used to doing.
Right.
It's easier to watch people do it, especially when you have great players doing it, but to actually be in the box and doing it yourself in a match, it feels a little weird. There have been multiple times where I've considered playing Esper Stoneblade, as Fox is really frustrated with a second mulligan here, but it just feels so weird. To Stoneforge to get a Batter Skull, Jacing, and all these other things. It's like I feel like I'm emulating people who do it way better than me when I'm playing the deck.
Exactly.
It's like, I've seen Todd do this before. I guess I'll do this now, even though I don't know if it's right or wrong.
What's another thing about this pair down here? If Tyler wins this match, there's a really good shot he's the 1 seed going into the top 8.
Yeah, it's actually very real, which would be really good for him.
It seems like a substantial edge when you're playing a deck like this.
Yes. Yes, it is. So we'll see. Obviously having a good time. It's been a great weekend for him. I'd be smiling too.
Opponent mulliganing to 5.
Yeah.
Life is good.
Yeah. Now we'll have the Melee Mage discussion in a moment, assuming that does come up about what card to name. But again, even though Fox is mulliganing here, he's still got this deck mulligans well. He's still got, he's a deck that has 1 mana cards. He's still got a lot of good sideboard cards to bring in. He can really undo a mulligan pretty quickly if he just has like a Delver and a Ponder and a Brainstorm and like a Red Elemental Blast. He's still sitting okay, so it's not over.
Yeah, Melee Mage and Red Blast especially are 2 cards that can make up quite a bit of ground here.
So he lays out 5. Does the Blue-Red Delver player? Does he find a good 5? He doesn't look thrilled. It looks like it's good enough. This no ley line, of course. You see a Daze over there in the grip. Let's see where Fox wants to start. He's got to get Taxing Probe. That's not a bad place to start.
Nice.
Yeah. Let's see. What do I care about over in your hand, Mr. Wilkerson? Here it comes. All right, so we've got a Show and Tell, City of Traders, 2 islands, I believe, and Enter the Infinite. So actually 3 islands, Show and Tell, Enter the Infinite, Cunning Wish, City of Traders. So the ability to get to Show and Tell on turn 2, but currently nothing to put in play.
Yeah, pretty tame hand.
Yes. And no cantrips either, so
right.
Really relying on the top of the deck to kind of get there.
This is a hand that can, for example, Cunning Wish for Intuition, Intuition for Omniscience, and then Show and Tell in Omniscience, but that clearly it's a very slow start.
Yes, very slow start. Wilkerson's going to draw a card. He's going to play an island. Let's see if he drew a cantrip or not. The answer is no. Passes back. Fox going to sacrifice Misty Rainforest. We'll see what land he wants to search for. Is it a tundra or will it be a volcanic island? And then we'll go from there.
Was that Source of Plowshare still in Adam's deck?
I hope not.
I thought I saw a white card there.
Oh, we'll see. There's a chance it was Wear and Tear, but his split card's obviously easier to identify. So we'll see if he does have Source of Plowshare still. That would be very surprising. He draws a card. And he's got a Daze in lands right now. One of the lands is a Wasteland. And it looks like he drew a cantrip, and he did. So Ponder. 1, 2, 3. Meddling Mage among them. Now.
And Spell Pierce, too.
Yeah, speaking of Meddling Mage, what do you name?
Show and Tell. Especially with a Spell Pierce, because the Spell Pierce can keep him off Dream Halls.
Okay.
And you know there's a Show and Tell in his hand. It's actually fairly challenging for this deck to go off through Meddling Mage.
Okay.
Hard for it to get off the table. Involves something like Cunning Wish for an Echoing Truth or some such.
Okay. Wilkerson takes a draw. It's a Cunning Wish. He's going to play City of Traders, and he's just going to pass the turn back. So it looks like he's going to try to cast a Cunning Wish here on turn 2 to look for the intuition that you mentioned and try to go off that way. But that's going to turn on Wasteland, and Spell Pierce is actually really good now, as is Daze. So he says, upkeep, I'm going to cast Cunning Wish.
It's a good operation. It forces Adam to use the mana on his upkeep, not on Tyler's own turn where it's free for him, or at the end of the turn when Adam has more information to work with.
I do love the operations there. Is it time for a Pierce? Is it time for a Daze? Do we even care? Probably care.
Yeah, we probably care. I would hazard a guess here. Curious to see if he wants to Daze or Pierce this.
Yeah. And he's not so sure right now either.
He can, for example, hard cast Daze this, Wasteland the City of Traders, untap, play Meddling Mage with Pierce back up. It's a pretty powerful sequence.
There's also the opportunity for him to just play Daze on the alternate casting cost.
Yes.
And then replay the land, play Meddling Mage that he's going to draw, name Show and Tell, move forward that way. But he's going to just Spell Pierce it. So, Arid Mesa was the card drawn. That's going to be the card that's put in play, so he doesn't have to draw that third card. We'll see what land he wants to search for, but you can believe the Meddling Mage is going to come to town now.
Yeah.
And again, even though Fox Mulligan to 5 here, this is a pretty good Mulligan to 5, all things considered.
Yeah, I think that I would have really strongly considered using Wasteland this turn, as giving Tyler another crack at using City Traders is a lot of value for him.
Sure.
That Wasteland is only going to get worse from here. And the Meddling Mage is likely to be about the same thing going forward, since Tyler's unlikely to do anything huge with his mana constricted that way.
We'll see what Meddling Mage does name, as Fox will pass the turn back to Wilkerson. Wilkerson's going to draw a card. It is a copy of Show and Tell. And Fox did name Show and Tell. So, 2 dead ones currently in Wilkerson's hand. He needs to be careful because he has to truly be concerned with Daze right now. And he's going to float 2, play a land. City Trader's going to die. And now he's probably going to cast Cunning Wish? Yes. Playing around Daze appropriately.
And this is what I was talking about with the play last turn. I think giving Tyler a second use of City Traders there is pretty damaging when the turn would have, we would have basically reversed the turns. Tyler wouldn't have done too much this turn with only 2 mana, and Adam could have resolved the Meddling Mage the following turn. I guess there is some risk of him playing another 2 mana land, but
not a bad draw there from Fox Force. So Will shows up to the party. Meddling Mage is going to come into the red zone. Wilkerson's going to go down to 18. Going to play the Wasteland, pass the turn back. Currently the hand for Fox is Daze and Force of Will. Wilkerson draws a card. It's an island. He's got a Brainstorm. He's going to pass the turn back. On the upkeep, Intuition.
And Tyler just slowly running Adam out of defenses here.
Yeah. Daze will take care of that. Fox draws a card. It's a blue one. Meddling Mage is going to come across again. Going to put Wilkerson down to 16. Take a draw. Brainstorm. Pretty good place to start.
I believe he drew True Name Nemesis. I think it would have been correct to alternate cast the days anyway because of the upside of finding Brainstorm plus a Shuffler to get rid of your redundant land.
Okay.
And if True Name Nemesis is still in his deck, then it was pretty rough to not be able to cast that this turn.
Agreed. So we're taking a look at a bunch of cards here in Wilkerson Sand. You see the end of the infinite. There's a Brainstorm. There's 2 copies of Show and Tell. And plenty of cards to put back, most importantly.
I believe Tyler's also picked up a Defense Grid.
Mm-hmm. It's a card that's never really done it for me in this deck. It never ever feels like it does what it's supposed to.
Well, I think that 4 Defense Grids is a mistake. That's too many. But drawing 1 is usually pretty good against these kind of decks.
Okay. There you do see the Urza's Legacy Rare. Dating myself a little bit here.
One of the sweetest looking foil cards.
It is a very good looking foil. I'll give you that. So 2 cards are going to go back. See if he has a fetch land to make it perfect. He does. Now this is Defense Grid. You see Fox is going to take a look at it as we have already for you guys at home. During each player's turn, spells played by another player cost an additional 3. So counter magic, get it out of here for the most part.
Yeah. Well, Adam can no longer hard cast the 4, so he has to hold back on the True Name Nemesis.
So Mage comes across for 2 more. Going to put Wilkerson down to 14. Wilkerson quickly untaps and draws. Now he can't cast Show and Tell, but Dream Halls and Company are still alive. Going to sacrifice a Flooded Train, go down to 13. Not underneath a ton of pressure just yet. But that could really pick up if Fox draws a blue card and then, can hard cast a True Name Nemesis. Now a lot of things have to go right on Fox's end, but again, this is something that's definitely possible.
And for a 5-card hand, this is showing the strength of Adam's sideboard in the matchup.
Yes.
Meddling Mage especially is causing Tyler no end of headaches. This game would have ended probably a couple turns ago were it not for Meddling Mage.
So a Brainstorm now. 2, 3. Looks like he picked up a Preordained Scalding Tarn and a Mystery card. Looks like a Ponder.
A Ponder. More cantrips.
Yeah. Sure, he wish he was doing that earlier. Now that he's a little bit under the gun. Again, he's not under the gun in a huge way, but, he wants to get moving a little bit here.
He's under the gun insofar as it's not clear how many relevant cards he actually has at this point. He has Cunning Wish, which would allow him to probably get some way to get Meddling Mage off the table. He also has Dream Halls, which allows him to go off through the Meddling Mage. But other than that, he has a lot of, cantrips to find things, but he's going to be spinning his tires for the most part, looking for some very specific cards.
Preordain clears the way of the top 2 cards. Mystery card drawn. So now Ponder's the last cantrip. And that is exactly what Wilkerson's going to cast. 2, 3. I believe that's an Enter the Infinite among others. This looks like a pretty fast shuffle. He's really digging here. I think the card that he's looking for is Cunning Wish.
Yes.
To get that Mage off the table. Or Cunning Wish or Dream Halls are the cards.
Those are the 2 big ones.
Yeah. But every draw set that you give Fox here is dangerous. That's 1 more draw towards a Brainstorm, towards a Ponder, which can lead to a Red Elemental Blast or a Pyro Blast. And
what's the casting
those cards
cost?
are great.
What's the casting cost of Omniscience? Is it 8 mana?
Omniscience is a 10 ball.
10 ball, okay. I was going to say, we're actually getting kind of into the range where he's got a 2-mana land and Mortal Mana left in his hand. I've seen this before. Don't discount this. This is not an impossibility.
Hey, if he hard casts Omniscience, I'll do a cartwheel.
We got to come up with a new bet. You already paid that one out.
We've seen crazier things happen, that's for sure.
This weekend, in fact.
Yeah, a couple of rounds ago. Harry still can't believe he lost that game, and neither can I.
Player winning a game even though they were basically unable to cast spells and had gotten Evercold.
Yeah, if you have not seen the Harry Corvesi versus Milton Figueroa game number 2, if there's one match you watch in the archives of this tournament, it would be that one. As here is a Preordained from Wilkerson. So he's cantripping like crazy. There's an Intuition. That one might be important. That land all of a sudden might become important because hardcasting Omniscience is kind of real here, but cards are going to go to the bottom. This one's going to go to the hand. There is an island. Now what do we have here? Is it time to cast Intuition? It is. Thumbs up.
And of course you're seeing Tyler main phase all this stuff because of Defense Grid in play.
He's going to go searching for Dream Halls. So that's his plan to win.
Now we know Adam still has Force of Will and a
We
blue
do.
card, so Tyler still needs a little bit more to be able to actually go off.
Yeah. Fox there. I'm just hoping Meddling Mage can hold on. Honestly. Dream Halls goes in the hand. Wilkerson says, go ahead, do your worst. And that was the big draw that I was scared
wow.
of. There is another Meddling Mage. Now, what is this name?
I would assume Dream Halls.
Draws a card. That's a preordain, and Dream Halls is the name. So now Wilkerson has more work to do. But the problem here for him is he's on a 2-turn clock now.
And Adam can pay for Defense Grid and still cast Force of Will.
Yes.
And Tyler's running out of ways to get this into play. Even just running 2 mana lands doesn't work anymore because Adam has a Wasteland.
Yeah. And now Fox quickly draws and attacks for 4. Going to put Wilkerson down to 4. And now all of a sudden, this is Wilkerson's last turn to actually do something. Fox is going to... Is he going to cast Stoneforge? Wow.
Sure.
I mean, I'm a little surprised he wants to tap mana on his turn. That's the thing, because like I don't really know what that accomplishes. You know, Stoneforge doesn't add to the clock. It's still a 2-turn clock, so it doesn't change anything. So, you know, again, it could come back to hurt him. I'm not positive if that's the case, but it could. Show and tell the card that's drawn, and Wilkerson is going to concede the game. So Adam Fox on a mulligan to 5 is going to tie it up. You see him take a look at his buddy in the corner saying, I don't know how I got myself out of that one, but I did.
Well, Meddling Mage is worth, I don't know how many cards out of Tyler's deck, but quite a bit.
It is so good in this matchup.
Tyler has a few cards that matter, and then a lot of setup. Unlike Sneak and Show lists, he doesn't have the opportunity to sign into something like Pyroclasm. So he's either got to Force of Will Meddling Mages or just find a way to slug through it. And even the first one was hard enough.
Yes.
I mean, Tyler had a bunch of cantrips, but he was basically drawing to only Dream Halls as a way to start doing his stuff. And then the second Meddling Mage locked that one out.
All right, we're going to go to a third and final one here, folks, between Wilkerson and Fox. We're going to see what happens between these two players. They are battling.
And there's a lot on the line here, of course, a top 8 invite. I would assume Adam is good at X1 and 1 with the highest breakers. And for Tyler, the shot of winning back-to-back opens in play here.
I want to see it happen. I wasn't there when Jerry did it. I want to see it happen, man.
You want to see this happen today and then go hang out with Jerry tomorrow?
I didn't really think about that.
Come on. I mean, Jerry's,
I'm sorry. I didn't think about that.
Jerry's on to bigger and better things at this point, but you got to have a little respect.
Take it in stride.
Got to
right?
give the man a little space to breathe after something like that, you know?
Yeah, he gets all night. And gets to go to work tomorrow, and then it'll be fine. And we'll go have dinner, and maybe I'll bring it up a time or 20. That's fine.
After Mike Riley lost in the top 8 yesterday, he made a misplay he was a little upset about, and, you know, he's, of course, lost in the top 8, so he's a little disappointed about that. He's trying to collect his bearings, and one of his buddies comes up to him and is like, I think Witch Stalker sucks in your deck. And it's like, you know, man, come on. Just give me, you gotta give me a little time.
What do we, is this friendship?
Yeah, let's talk about this in a week, you know?
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be right now.
Mike, I just thought you should know that that card's awful.
Yeah, you played bad and that card sucks.
Yeah. All right. It looks like both players are happy. Here we go. Wilkerson. Time to go tripping with the Ponder.
And Adam has very, very confident body language right
Yeah,
now.
he does, doesn't he? Does like kind of a snap keep, and yeah, let's play Magic now. I want to win this game, make the top 8. That's what it feels like, at least. So Ponder is going to leave him, pass it over. Fox pondering.
And it looked like he had Pyroblast in hand. There's Daze, Meddling Mage. Assuming we saw it correctly, a Pyroblast. I mean, that's a loaded hand.
That's really good. Pass it back. Let's see if Wilkerson has a defense grid. Maybe just the turbo show. He can turbo show and tell.
Well, he's looking. I think Adam's defenses might be down entirely, if I'm not mistaken.
He doesn't go for it. He had City of Trader show and tell and Omniscience in his hand, but he says, I'd rather manipulate a little bit more. What's the rush?
The rush is Meddling Mage.
I agree.
Potentially.
There is a rush. But, you know, do you want to play around Meddling Mage or do you want to play around Daze? There's definitely a decision to be made there.
Yeah, of course, of course. Again, it's important for us not to be too biased by the fact that we get to see everyone's hands.
Mm-hmm.
And I could be mistaken. Maybe Adam did have a Force of Will lurking in there, but I thought I just saw Brainstorms and a Pyroblast.
just knowing now that Meddling Mage is going to come and shut down Show and Tell, it's going to be rough. And this is going to be a Preordain, so he is manipulating very well right now. Preordain and Gataxian Probe. Boy, Probe would have been nice to start this turn off with. Would have known if he could have gone for it or not. You are right. I think that when we look back a year or so from now, when where Probe is just the card that everyone's playing,
yeah,
we're just going to look back and say, what were we doing?
It's like looking back at standard deck lists that had 2 Jace the Mind Sculptors in it.
Yeah.
We're going to laugh at ourselves.
Yeah. 2 Jace, huh? You just didn't want to draw one every turn?
Yeah, I guess you just didn't want to draw it.
Yeah. Wilkerson's going to pass the turn back. Fox quickly draws. Yeah, he's going to slam down Meddling Mage. You better believe it.
And he's got Daze back up 2 for this turn, and then he gets to untap with Pyroblast the following turn. So,
good confirmation on the name, but I believe it was Show and Tell. And it is Show and Tell. Wilkerson's got to work for it now. He's got to find Dream Halls or Cunning Wish. This is a Preordain. 1, 2. Strand into the Infinite. Bottoms up. Take a draw. Does Wilkerson want to play one of these non-basics and open himself up to Wasteland? He did just draw a Defense Grid, which is not so bad.
Defense Grid is a fine draw here.
Yeah. 1 mana, Gataxian Probe. Not going to pay the alternate casting cost. That's a good hand.
2 Brainstorms, Pyroblast, Daze, Volcanic, Wasteland.
That was a good hand. He gets to manipulate like crazy because of Brainstorm. Sure, he doesn't have a fetch land yet, but he can probably find one with one of those 2 Brainstorms. Got a Wasteland to put the double lands in check. That's a really good hand. Wilkerson hasn't played a land yet, since he is on the play.
I was got to decide if he wants to run that Defense Grid into that Daze.
I don't think you'd want to, right?
Yeah, something. If he has another cantrip he can play this turn or something, then no.
Stoneforge Mystic the draw. Here is Stoneforge. That's going to resolve. Yeah, Fox playing at a very fast pace now.
Still got Pyroblast Daze at the ready here.
Uh-huh. See what he's going to go search up. And it's going to be Sword of Fire and Ice. You can put the acceleration on this game and draw some cards. And every card that he draws, pretty much every spell he draws is good. So.
Tyler up against it now.
Yeah, he sure is. He sure is.
Although, in fairness, that Defense Grid's going to do a lot of work.
Yes.
He can resolve it next turn. He no longer has to worry about Daze or Pyroblast for a little while. And then we're back in the place where all of a sudden Dream Halls is a way for him to go off.
And he found a Cunning Wish here. Cunning Wish is a way to answer that Meddling Mage. So he's working himself back into this.
And again, he has access to the line of, he can resolve Defense Grid.
And then cast Cunning Wish.
Cunning Wish for Intuition.
Yep.
Now that's in the clear.
Also, he can Cunning Wish for a card like Echoing Truth, too.
Yeah.
So he can... I like doing this all in one turn.
Yeah, as much as possible, he wants to do it in one turn.
So here is Defense Grid. He looks at Fox and says, is that okay? I don't know if there's a world where you want to daze this. But also, it's kind of tricky, too, because now, had he not played Ancient Tomb, because by playing the Ancient Tomb, it's kind of like a giveaway, I think.
Yeah.
That dazing this might be okay. This can be a Brainstorm in response. Okay. 1, Scalding Tarn. 2, Misty Rainforest. 3, Tundra. Bad Brainstorm.
Yep.
Don't forget, he's got to draw one of those cards again, too. Bad Brainstorm.
So Defense Grid's in.
All right. Now Wish is going to resolve. So let's see what he's going to go get. Looks like he's got something in mind.
Well, it's either Echoing Truth or Intuition, I would imagine. He also has Slaughter Pact in the sideboard, too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
That's a spicer. Now, got to do all that in one turn.
Right.
All right. There is the Tarn. You place back. There is Slaughter Pact, destroy target non-black creature. But it's a freebie. You got to play 2 in black, or you die.
You can mitigate the drawback by killing them that turn.
Smart. That's a smart way to mitigate that.
Right. So I think Adam now is just going to hold up all of his mana for Pyroblast.
Mm-hmm.
And if he doesn't have to use Pyroblast, he can put the sword in at the end of the turn with Stoneforge Mystic and keep applying the pressure.
Yep. he's going to cast Brainstorm. This is a big risk.
Oh, boy.
2.
I mean, if he doesn't find
3.
Force of Will, he's just on days now.
Yeah, and he can easily play around days. So what we can do is we can go Slaughter Pack, cast Show and Tell, and just kill you. That was a huge gamble. He already played land for the turn.
Yeah, this is... I mean, I understand the concern that, you know, maybe your Pyroblast isn't enough here, but the best thing that you can do is find another counterspell.
Let's see if Wilkerson can deduce this.
Well, he knows the contents of the hand from a Gitaxian Probe, and the only thing that could have happened here is that Adam draws a Force of Will.
Okay.
But that's no different here than if he had access to Pyroblast.
That's true.
Other than he has the option of Force of Will in the Slaughter Pack, but there's no way he's fighting over that.
I think he's going to start with a Ponder. He wants to try to find a Force Will to feel safe.
Yeah, I think he's compelled to go for it this turn, no matter what, because it's not going to. And then he found Force of Will.
Green light's on now. Assuming that he has Omniscience in his hand to be able to go off.
Right.
Yeah, like assuming he has the pieces to be able to go off, the green light's on. I think his hand right now is Show and Tell, Omniscience, Slaughter Pact, and Enter the Infinite. So I think, but now he's putting Force Will in the middle, so maybe we're wrong. Now he's putting it to the top. Okay. So he's going to take Force of Will. Okay, we're moving in. Slaughter Pack, kill that. Can't stop now. This is a Show and Tell. And I think Fox may have just realized the mistake he made.
Yeah. Yeah, he could have set on that Pyro.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, with this setup, Tyler had him covered anyway.
Yeah.
But by playing it this way, Tyler didn't even need to find Force of Will, given that Adam didn't find one of his own.
Yep. You see Fox.
Although, can he put a land into play here and break this up with a Pyroblast mid combo?
He can. Does he see that, though? That's the question.
We'll find out.
Because I had missed that. That'd be a beating.
Although, keep in mind, Tyler still has 3 mana left over, so he can kind of, might be able to rejigger this, but...
Well, the mana left over doesn't matter, right? Because like Omniscience will be in, so it's all free.
Sure, I guess it depends what he has in response to be able to play.
Yeah.
But
oh, now, yeah, I don't think Fox sees it. I think he thinks he made a mistake and doesn't think he can get back in it. So Sword's going to come into play.
Yeah.
So he doesn't put the land. Yeah, he doesn't Oh, he's got Force. So yeah, it wouldn't matter.
Yeah, okay.
Right, okay,
still
yeah,
had it covered.
Yeah, he's still good. He's still good. So Enter the Infinite, and that is going to do it. So Tyler Wilkerson is going to win this match over Adam Fox. One heck of a game, but Slaughter Pact is the MVP this go around. And he's going to defeat Adam Fox and move on to the top 8. The back-to-back dream is still alive for Tyler.
And like we said earlier, we're looking at probably the #1 seed going into the elimination rounds as well.
Oh, yeah. Impressive stuff for Tyler. He sneaks by. Your standard open champion is moving on to the elimination rounds. He's going to D-sideboard, and he's going to get ready for the top 8.